Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to this 4v4 map, Bloody Ridge. Bloody Ridge is usually a 3v3 map, if that. With 4v4 this map can get a bit crowded, because of course there are basically three lanes. You have India Echo, you have Hotel Foxtrot, and you have Charlie Golf. Although you do not very often see any large pushes coming through these areas, because it's so open. It's very easy to spot an incoming invasion, and getting there to the other side is going to involve quite a bit of smoke, quite a bit of infantry, and if you are there, considerable airstrikes, if you're coming from the other side, that is. Anyway, we're doing a conquest game, or we're commenting on a conquest game today. I'm going to be following Sparky Hayes around. Unfortunately, Sparky without his voice today as we're doing a replay. He's teamed up with Spect, Rip, and Keita. Teamed up against Lavaju, Dijan, Lieutenant AM, and Lieutenant Wayne. Quite a few lieutenants on that team. Now we have Sparky going left. This is, well, I suppose you could call it Suicide Town on this end, because this is generally where infantry goes to die. This is where infantry goes to relax and not do anything for most of the match. And this area is generally reserved for tank warfare, some smoke screens, and some infantry pushes in the forest here and the forest right over there. With, if you need a fallback position, this little town on this end. The problem though is if you are falling back here, that means that the enemy has most likely taken up position in Foxtrot. If they have, then there's a very good chance that you are losing the match, because if you are no longer controlling Foxtrot, or at least neutralizing it, that means that the enemy team has gained a +1, which of course is going to turn into a problem rather quickly. Now they need to go to 750 points and they have 50 minutes to do it in. So let's get to work. Let's see what Sparky's bringing. He has, I believe, a Swedish deck, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of Leopard 105s, CV9030s, always good fun with these things. NM195s for AA, one command infantry unit, and as far as I know, it doesn't really matter what sort of command unit you bring. India is usually going to get contested. It's going to see airstrikes, it's going to see artillery strikes. It doesn't really matter if you bring a heavily armored CV, an infantry CV that you can hide anywhere. Usually, it's going to get killed off. And that's not all he's bringing, not just the ground troops. He's flying in a couple of Bell 204s real quick to further get eyes on and to initially capture some terrain, hopefully before Red 4 arrives. And Red 4 generally has a bit of an advantage when it comes to town fighting. They have more units which are capable of spewing napalm, and napalm is very effective at eradicating enemy infantry, as you probably well know. So let's see how well Sparky is going to be doing on this left flank. As he's moving his forces up, we have Keita and Spect, I think. Spect going right. No, we have Keita and Rip going middle. Keita and Rip are both dropping off recon, not reinforcements. And trying to get recon as quickly as possible on these flanks to see what exactly is rolling in where. In the meanwhile, Sparky has already been engaged. He's already taken some losses with his helos, it seems, or at least some damage. And as his Volkskamjäger are quickly disembarking from the helos are getting shot down by a RL-4M. And we saw a whole column of infantry transports going into that town. So let's hope that his own infantry column arrives quickly before the Volkskamjäger get overrun. Because, well, these guys tend to come in 15-man groups. This 15-man group got reduced to 1 man, as the rest of them probably died in a helicopter crash. Anyway, we have contact with Lavadu, who's bringing in a whole lot of Raninoekeri, a couple of Pedobranchi from Dijan. So Lavadu and Dijan are teaming up against Sparky over here. That means that we potentially have one player managing the middle of the field against the 2 players that are operating here, Keita and Rip. Rip has taken a position in the tree line here with infantry from Keita. Keita coming in with some heavy tanks, 2 Merkava 3 Bas. It's going to be quite a bit of management there. Even a Merkava 3, which is no longer being concealed. So he has to keep a close eye on this one, or he risks losing it. Over to the right we have Spect, heavily entrenched in this town. A couple of AMX-13s off on the sides to defend against incursions by either helicopter, special forces, or recon troops, which tend to get a bit too aggressive in their push here. Back to Sparky, where most of the town has already been taken over by Red 4, and napalm strikes are not really going to aid Blue 4 in trying to assist or trying to capture this position as quickly as possible. Looks like what might have been a B5 dropped here. Not exactly sure what that was, but it was either a B5 or at least something, I'd say 1,000 kilograms of weight. Now, he has some infantry left, some Volkskamjäger, some Stormer, but that's pretty much it. The rest of it is made up by a couple of Leopard 1A5s and some CV-9030s, some of which have taken some damage seemingly from the bombing run. Helicopters, not really an option either, with Lavaju's marksman on the guard there. We can see that the Renico Yakari are panicked, so they're not going to be pushing that much. But there's not really that much to push back with either. Now as for scores, Red 4 had a pretty good lead, are 64 points in. Now Blue has a +2. That's mostly because Red 4 either has not captured Charlie or has lost the zone already. There may have been an artillery strike, but I'm not seeing it, so I think that they have not actually captured this area. So far, they might be concerned a little bit more with pushing more and more infantry onto the left field. And as you can see, there's another at least 3 transports coming in. Now if you can get some reconnaissance units out to the flank, here would be a great position. You can see pretty much exactly what's going to be coming in, and potentially get early eyes on either artillery or potentially AA. So you might be able to neutralize that and bring in some airstrikes of your own. So, we have one surviving guy over here, one unit from the opkladding, a couple of CV-9030s rushing in to try and assist, but against 12 Renicos, this guy is not going to survive for very long. CV-9030s provided some supporting fire, did not really get a good look at them. You could try blind firing, but these units are going to be hopping structures so quickly that it's going to be difficult to get a good shot at them. Fortunately, there are some reinforcements. Rip is coming in with a quad stack of Stormers with pretty decent veterancy inside. And we even have Spect with some YP408s. Wouldn't be surprised if there's the Dutch Corps Mariniers inside. Also known as the Corps Mariner, which, well, I suppose it works, but it's not really the way we pronounce it. Anyway, the Royal Marines have arrived. One thing I don't quite like is, well, actually 2 things. One thing is the friendly fire incident that's going on, with mortar fire raining down on the Marines. Second is the quad stack. Quad stacking infantry results in 1, not taking up multiple structures, and 2, presenting yourself as a very easy target for a bombing run. 3, it allows the enemy to nail down your forces and panic them or shake them all at the same time. As expected, the Corps Mariniers have arrived. They're slowly but steadily pushing out the Red 4 infantry, currently doing a slightly longer range skirmish with the Renicos. If they can hop buildings and potentially get some support here from the infantry inside the NM135s, they might be able to get a little bit of terrain gain here. Spec says there's artillery coming here. I assume by that he means his own. Yep, he has a couple of paladins over there, providing suppressive fire on the infantry on the town. Now, as this fight is raging, let's have a look at the rest of the map. Because the guys in the middle, Kieta and Rip, have done a very good job pushing out all the way to the edge of this sector. And they haven't quite captured it yet, but I imagine a command vehicle, yep, there it is already on the way. Kieta has an Achsarit coming in, which of course, with a bunch of armor, 10 frontal armor, is going to survive for quite a while. Even artillery strikes with 6 sidle armor, 6 side armor, it's not going to be that much of an issue for this vehicle. They first need to find it though. Let's hope they don't. Now the right flank, we have some eyes on vehicles as they're progressing into the right side. Fortunately, the Maglands are providing both vision and artillery. No, sorry, not artillery. Anti-tank support. And as far as we know, a couple of vehicles made it to the town. We have some 55 Igmans which are being spotted. We don't really have the capacity with any of these units to deal with them, but in their current position they don't really pose a threat. So I think that both sides are now more or less dedicating most of their forces to the left flank. We can still see forces from Dijon and Lavadu coming in on the left. Let's see if there's any other players which are providing support. Here comes Dijon with the bombing run. That's going to be a bit of a problem if he doesn't move this infantry. Come on, Sparky, get them out of the way. Fortunately, the aircraft gets shot down before it was able to drop. That was close. Rip brings in reinforcements. Seems to be another quad stack of Marines coming in. Yep, here we go. 40 Royal Marines. Again, if I was playing the game, I would be bringing 2 groups of 2 Royal Marines. So I can take up, for example, a building here and there. Yes, you can still get hit by a bombing run, but you're not focusing all of your firepower and most importantly all of your points, because let's face it, these guys are expensive. You're not focusing all of your points in one structure, which opens you up to a bombing run. This Su-22 does not seem to be going directly for the Royal Marines. The Royal Marines, once again, are all panicked because they're operating in one large squad. Now, it seems that right now we have 3 players here. We have Rip, Sparky and Spect, who is also trying to open up the flanks here and potentially intercepting transports right before they arrive in that town. If you can kill off the infantry before they get dropped off, you get quite a bit of damage in and potentially wipe out the whole infantry group, depending on how hard you hit the transport. Mankatis are trying to resupply the Fallschirmjäger. Risky move here, but it seems that Spect has his vision covered and these transports are not that likely to get detected if the Fallschirmjäger live long enough, which is all but guaranteed as we're dealing with a 16 versus 5. And while the Rennicos are being subjected to mortar fire, or at least artillery fire, the Fallschirmjäger, singular actually, this Fallschirmjäger is not going to have a good day. And as such, his transports are now at pretty big risk. We still have Lavadu. Where are the other players operating? This is Lieutenant AM. They cleverly parked an Alouette onto the flank to avoid being... or not avoid being flanked, but avoid getting a special forces team being brought into the sides, providing recon and potentially artillery fire, as Spect is going to be pointing at targets anytime soon as they get spotted. But that Alouette is in the way. F-16 made a flyby, as you could see, but it didn't quite get it. Now another Su-22 flies by, but did not drop. Not exactly sure why, but you can definitely see how quickly this town is changing hands. A moment ago, Blue had a pretty solid position. Right now, there is not a Blue infantryman in sight in the town. We have 10 Gewehrmen moving through, and we have 20 Royal Marines sitting by, ready to go into action. And that's about it. Oh yeah, and of course some 30 Fallschirmjäger on the left here. On the right, it all seems quiet. And I think that Blue 4 doesn't mind. Because as long as they can keep this zone, and they can keep reinforcing the positions here, making it difficult for Red 4 to push back in, they're sitting at a steady +1. All they need to do is hold out for a significant period of time. They definitely have a solid AA battery here. A couple of tracked rapiers, as well as a Stormer. There's another Stormer slightly up close. Problem with these things, though, they have a bit of a limited range against helicopters. You need the other rapier for that, but that one has the terrible range against airplanes. I don't really like these rapiers. One of the main reasons for that? Speed. 35 kph off-roading. Really? That's going to take forever to get into position. Now, Rip is bringing his heavy tanks. We saw initially 3 super heavies from Keda. Or at least, well, 2.5. 2 Merkava 3Bs and one Merkava 3. It seems that the Merkava 3B and the Merc 3 have both been killed off, leaving only one 3B. And of course this tends to happen. As you have these front lines, the enemy team will have HGMs looking at you, and the Merkava immediately takes a hit as it's being detected after firing a single shot over there. Now it looks like they're gearing up for an assault on the right flank. I wonder with what though? This could be a bit of a ruse. It could be a plan to temporarily divert attention to the right flank, as they're pushing more infantry to the left. They're just trying to get people to focus more units onto this area. Just trying to devote a few more moments of focus from the enemy team here, as they're getting ready to push, or at least feign a push onto this side. Because with 2 chieftains and 1 unit of 6 Fusiliers, I do not see them taking this town. Not anytime soon, anyway. As you can see, the chieftains are parked just below that ridge over here. Right now, nobody has vision on them, or at least I don't think that they do. So right now, the chieftains are perfectly fine, and they can be pushed forward should an offensive either come from red, or if blue is going to need to do an offensive on this side. On the left side, once again, there is nothing left of blue force infantry. I wonder how much red 4 infantry is left on that side. Because both sides are quickly starting to go through their infantry. And this grinder of a town is going to cost both of the infantry sections a lot of losses. I wonder how much more units they're willing to devote to this side. Of course, if you can bypass this town altogether, that would be wonderful. If you could just say, well, it's a nice town you have there, but I'm going around. I'm going to try to come in from the flank. You can try to do that, and it seems like Spect has just spotted the fact that we do not have eyes on the left, and that there might be an incursion. Sparky's empty Bell 204s rush into action, machine gun 3 at the ready, wondering if they can spot something. These guys, though, with poor optics, they'd have to pretty much fly over something and get shot at before they notice anything. A concealed sniper team is going to have a pretty easy time evading these guys. What we really need over there is a reconnaissance unit. A recon chopper. Something like that, but then blue. I don't think we're going to see anything soon, so Spect may have just been warning Sparky to get these guys into position, or risk getting overrun. Now, there is still a smokescreen being thrown up on the right flank. We have the chieftains which are getting ready to go. Oh, actually, here are the T-55s. As I wasn't looking, both of the T-55s got destroyed. And Rip is now trying to suppress the Proletarian 90 which are in here, as we have further smoke screams coming up from Kieda, which is covering the tank. Again, I'm not really sure what their plan is here, because right now they don't really have any infantry to push with. I was thinking that Spect might be planning something, but his transports are empty. His marines are all relaxing in this town and not really prepping for action. So again, maybe they're just faking a push on this side. Maybe they're just trying to draw attention. And yeah, I think that that was the cause of all these dead tanks. These two may have been killed off by the Perret. But if it has, or if they have been, then this Perret got resupplied in the meanwhile, because it only fired once. Anyway, all seems quiet on Bloody Ridge. Yes, there's some artillery fire, there's some vehicles moving, but the next move really is Red Force, as Blue 4 is entrenched in Foxtrot, in Gulf, and on the left in India. So what is Red up to? What are they planning? Let's assume they're planning a helicopter rush. On the right side it would easily get spotted by the AMX-13s. On the left it would easily get spotted by the Bell 204s. Spotting it is one thing. Able to kill it is something else, because if there is a helicopter rush coming along this flank, they could easily push through these Bell 204s, they'd be nothing more than a speed bump, and then engage into Juliet, where they would find 2 artillery pieces sitting there, a command vehicle, and very little else along the lines of AA. So I wonder... oh, hang on. Wow, they managed to get a cluster arty in on the position of the command vehicle in Gulf, which immediately neutralizes it, puts blue 4 at a plus none, and red 4 at a plus 1, as they just lost a 2-point zone. We're gonna need to scramble a CV into this position. We cannot have red 4 gain this ground. It's not the only artillery battery that's firing. The other one's aimed at the left flank, where they seem to be doing general area damage. Not so much inflicting infantry damage as they are trying to damage the vehicles. Fortunately, the command infantry that Sparky has over here is the Commando Plus, the Commando Plus, which is not really going to be susceptible to it. Their transport is. It's generally something that I recommend, though, trying to differentiate your transport from the command vehicle. And by the way, this can definitely hurt any sort of command infantry. Napalm artillery. Anyway, make sure your transport for your command vehicle is not sitting right next to the command infantry. Because if your command vehicle or your transport vehicle gets killed off, it explodes. It's going to attract attention from vehicles. And that's not really something that your command infantry is looking forward to. Anyway, it looks like this is what Red was planning. We have XA-180s coming in, smoke screens being thrown up, and a hell of a push coming in. I wonder what else they're planning. And it seems that that's not the only thing. We have some more red blips on the right flank, where Spect is pushing in with a bunch more Corps Mariniers. Right into the Padubranci, a BOV-86. And... never mind, I thought there was an offensive going on here, but not so much. We do, however, have a new command vehicle coming in. Rep sending a command vehicle. So, just as we're trying to deal with this situation, you might think that airstrikes would be a good solution. No, says Red 4, as Dijan comes in with one L-18 and one 19. Spect's ECR is narrowly avoiding death until now. Is this ECR going to be good enough? Not quite. He narrowly made it out alive. And just at the last possible moment got shot down. At least he didn't crash onto a command vehicle. Which, yes, it happens. Every now and then. And I have a video where that happened. Viewers warning, if you watch that video, there's a significantly higher chance that it's going to happen to you. As somebody recently commented. Yeah, I watched the video, only been playing since November. Thought that would never happen to me, and boom. Lost a command vehicle thanks to an aircraft that crashed on it. Anyway, Red seems intent on taking this zone off of Blue 4's hands. Well done to them, as these smoke screens are pushing Blue 4's vision all the way back, right to the tree line. And Red 4 is making very, very good use of that. Bringing in the Pencherenovnichi right close. The Vidras with close range autocannon damage can easily penetrate most vehicles. The Chieftain maybe not so much. After all, the Chieftain is not really having any of that transport shit and is immediately wiping it out the moment they spot it. But seriously, this is the beauty of Wargame. Let's just go without the HUD for a bit. Infantry skirmishing. One infantry group right out in the open. Half the squad instantly getting wiped out. It seems that we're engaging another group of infantry right out here. Which, by the looks of it, already had their transports getting wiped out. Any further artillery coming in from Red? No, it looks clear. There's another vehicle pushing back, actually. T-72 Mod 1, maybe? I used to know those things by heart, but not anymore. Alright, let's turn the HUD back on. Actually, look at that. For a game of 2014, that's not bad, is it? That is not bad. Of course, for Blue 4, that is bad. as Blue 4 is being subjected to a large volume of napalm fire. So far, I'm surprised that most of these units are not panicking. So far, they're seemingly alright. Of course, they have to get outside of the area that's engulfed in napalm, which does probably put them on the map. And it allows Red 4 to start targeting them, which they are definitely doing with a couple of T-55 Matties. And it seems that Red either snuck a command vehicle in, or Blue had to relocate. I think Blue had to relocate, because if I'm not mistaken, then the command infantry used to be on that side of the truck before. Let's see what else is going on. Spect and his infantry not really making any progress, as his attention, and with him all of the attention from the whole team, is probably going to the left flank. We have Rips, Chieftains, we have Spects, Super Heavies, the Leopard 2A5. We have some infantry still from Sparky on the left flank, more or less holding on. And with this zone, Gulf back under Blue for control. Blue is back at a +1. But this was one hell of a push by Red. Beautiful coordination with artillery, smoke screens, napalm arty, rocket arty, airstrikes, or at least air patrols to cover any airstrikes that Blue might throw in to defeat that wave that's coming in. And considering that there is more smokes coming in, more smoke screens are being thrown up, there could yet be more infantry coming this way. Narrowly missed the CV-9030 there with the Dunbar. We're stunned so far. Unfortunately, this AMX is not the most accurate tank that we have. Yep, here come the transports. Lavadu is rushing in more infantry, narrowly avoiding them as the transport's getting destroyed. Right into the CV-9030s from Sparky, as well as the NM195s, sorry, 135s. And while the Renicos with their Appalachians are doing a significant portion of damage, they are definitely starting to worry as to the amount of fire that they're taking. Another CV-9030 goes down. Storm Engineers with the Erics. Now, I'm not sure what they're trying to target. I think the Ranicos, but that missile flew a little bit off to the side. 30 Gewehrmen ready for the fight, although they are panicked. The infantry transport from the Commando Plus is now been destroyed. So all they have left is lying prone and hoping that they don't get hurt. Hoping that they don't get found, or that a stray round happens to land right near them. So, this mighty defense from Blue 4, or rather once mighty defense from Blue 4, has been completely decimated. The super heavies that we saw have been forced to pull back, most of the infantry is dead, the transports are all gone, and this is the moment that Lavadu picks to bring in more infantry. If he can keep pushing out infantry here, Blue has nothing to replace it with. And yes, Sparky is trying to get some more bells inside, trying to get some more infantry scrambling to the front line. The question is, will they be in time? I don't think so. Because 7 Storm Engineers as well as 29 Gewehrmen. Well, fortunately Blue has arty support, but so has Red. And once again, the command infantry has not been attacked. They have not taken... Oh, now they've taken a scratch. Me and my big mouth. Now they've taken some damage. Now they've taken a scratch. But... Actually, is he retreating them? Come on, hold those guys steady. We need the points. Order 2s from Spect pushing up. Machbet from Kieta. Machbet? Really? He might be using these things in the ground roll. So getting that 168 Vulcan to go to town on the infantry. But there is no line of sight here whatsoever. And with the Vulcan active, he is opening his AA units up to a seed run. Although that does not seem to be the focus of Red at the moment, as they are doing a hefty air patrol here. 2 L-19s and 1 L-18, ready to deter any Blue 4 aircraft from coming in too close, and wiping out the pushes that Lavadu is throwing at them. Sparky does have his own fighters up, but right now they're just looking at each other at long range. They probably have each other on radar, but that's about it. And the moment that they come into each other's weapon range, it's going to be a bit of a flurry of action. And it's anybody's bet who's going to win that one. Now, Lavadu still has 12 Panzerjäger coming quite close. Spect is aggressively pushing in with the Leopard 2A1, trying to support the Gewehrman, the single Gewehrman that's still holding the line. And it seems that Sparky's 204s, there you go, one still trailing off. It seems that they have been able to land in time. Can they now take up position in front of the command infantry in time? Command infantry at this point getting a bit worried. And so would I be if the main defense against enemy infantry is the 151 TOW 2. As well as a bunch of Volkskamjäger, but this side against enemy infantry is still wide open. Why Sparky is pushing in TOW 2s at this point, I don't quite understand. Maybe he was bringing these things in at an earlier time. And of course it does take a while for them to arrive here. Again, he has enough to manage as is, so yeah, he was probably pretty busy there. Now we have quite a few units of Volkskamjäger standing by, and we're going to need that Eric's that they're carrying. Because while I didn't address it before, I did see an M91 Vihor, which was supporting any infantry that was pushing forward, as much as it could see though. Because once again there's a significant smoke screen coming up. Both the standard issue smoke rounds and forest fires started by the napalm. And I don't like this at all. A whole bunch of red helos are coming in. Mi-24Vs, Mi-24Ps, Mi-8R recon units. It looks like Spect is going to get busy. Spect, unfortunately, does not have anything left on this flank. He does have 2 Rolands. He has the Perret. He has no infantry whatsoever, which I'm assuming he moved out of the town and into this ridge line here. There's really very little that is stopping these helos from pushing right in. Rolands doing their best to deter these helos from coming in closer. And these are, by the way, the mobile Rolands, as they call them. These are the wheeled variants, as opposed to the tracked ones, which are significantly slower. A couple missiles going in. There we go. That's a few more Hinds down. These things are not too dangerous. The Mi-24V has been taken down. It seems that the helo rushed the wrong way. Of course, it got spotted early, potentially by these recce's over here. And instead of pushing over this ridge line and then into either Gulf and or Kilo and further, they decided to go into Foxtrot. That was a mistake. Foxtrot is the one zone that is heavily defended against any AA. We have the Stormer, we have the Shanav, which is now out of ammo. We have the tracked Rapier over there. This one was heavily defended. Red, however, is not letting up. We still have a couple of Igmans which seem to be pushing right from their cover in the tree line. And on the left, the fight is still raging. I probably missed quite a few moments here, but there is so much to see through this battle. 12 Volkskamjäger engaged with 5 Panzer in infantry. I don't think the Panthers are going to win that very well, and yes, I probably butchered that pronunciation again, but sorry, this unit name contains a whole lot of signs that we don't have in the Dutch language. So there are quite a few things that I don't know how to pronounce. Anyway, right flank. It's now the FSK's turn to take the front line against a whole bunch of Panzerjäger, which I expect are going to be coming under mortar fire at any point now. But I'm not seeing the mortars anymore. Looks like Kieres Dohers did take some fire, but survived. There was a quad stack of mortars here. Emphasis was. That's a Laro, if I'm not mistaken. Laro mortar, and apparently the whole stack got wiped out. Now, Spect landing a hand with the 2 Mortar 2s. Mortar 2s nowhere near as strong as they once were. These things, I don't even know what their original stats used to be. I think at least 10 frontal armor. You guys remember those days? The mortar had more frontal armor than some of the medium tanks. Those were interesting times. Anyway, Lavadu seems not to have any infantry supply issues. 40 new Panzerjäger come through the smoke into this zone. And the only thing that they really need to do is hold off. They can hold off long enough and plant a preferably command infantry unit somewhere on this side. And they might be able to hold on to this zone, neutralize Blue Force consistent +1, and extend the length of this match a bit more. For now though, the right flank is seeing some action as Kieta is trying to push forward. I'm not exactly sure how he is planning on taking out 2 entrenched units, or actually 4 entrenched units of Proletari. He's getting some mortar support, but they're mostly putting up a smoke screen. Yep, he's using his 2 Laish, which are putting up a smoke screen, trying to blind the line of sight from at least the right unit, hoping that the units on the left might get destroyed. But so far there is just another 20 guys moving into position to keep them at bay. So I don't think that this is going to be any successful operation over here. On the right flank we have an HT-40 coming in close, or closer rather, seemingly having had enough of the Givati. This thing's no joke, 128mm rocket pods. They're going to decimate infantry. And that's exactly what they're doing. Fortunately the smokescreen is saving these guys for the moment, but not enough, as this helo still has line of sight. And the Givati are now reduced to just 12 guys. Kieta, however, seems intent on taking this side as he pulls in a few more Hammer transports. It's going to take them a while to get there, but so far that still probably will not be enough. He's still going to need more. Back to left, where the Vihor got very, very aggressive. And it seems that Spect temporarily re-embarked his Panzer Grenadiers, or these are new Martyrs, whichever happened first. I don't believe they're new Martyrs though. The Vihor did take a hit, but I did not see it go down. So the Vihor is probably still around, and they're now boxing it in. If it moves back, it's going to get hit by the cluster artillery that they're throwing up. If it moves forward, it's running head-on at the Volksjäger 90 and Panzer Grenadiers, both of which are very well capable of dealing with a super heavy like that. Panzerjäger, once again, Lavadu, no issues with infantry whatsoever. I wonder what sort of deck he was using. I'm thinking motorized, considering the amount of infantry that he's able to keep pumping out. And he's not the only one, as Dijan is also providing infantry here. This is how arty stops infantry, that's what Spect is saying here. Yeah, and here's the Vihor. It's been detracked, but it's not going to take too much more time. 1 second left. If that was my Vihor, I'd start to retreat it ASAP. Red's now trying to support with an Mi-25, doing some damage it seems against the transports. The NM195s are not having any of that, and with their supposedly medium range AA units, they're dealing with it pretty quickly. They cannot deal with, however, is that Igman over there, as the Igman does show right now, but fortunately we have something that does deal with Igmans quite well. Supposing that it does not show its side to the enemy. Because while the sidearm on a Challenger is good at 11, I would not want to test that armor against the Igman and the Vihor, which I still have not quite seen get killed off. I'm seeing a transport, so that Vihor is probably still there, unless they overran it. And on the left, surprise surprise, Lavadu has infantry. Panzerjäger, once again, not relenting, never-ending supply of these guys, supposedly. And this time around it's Spect who's pushing him out on this flank. So far, Blue still holding on. They still need to hold on for 13 minutes. And they still have a +1 going. Thanks to keeping that Foxtrot zone alive. And, of course, holding on to everything else. But I find that Foxtrot tends to be the most challenging zone to hold on to. This is the one where, well, if you don't capture it early on anyway, where you will see most back and forth happening. It seems that Levadu, no, sorry, not Levadu, Kieta's super heavy got destroyed. Of course, I didn't catch that. But I'm not seeing any of the Merkava 3s anymore. We still do have the Challenger 2. We have another supporting unit here, another Challenger 2, standing by for engagements from the right flank. But so far, these guys have had a pretty easy time. They haven't fired a single shot, or they've been resupplied, whichever happened. Now, let's see if we can actually make a dent in this town. Does Lavadu, at some point, run out of infantry, yes or no? Let's see. One thing they're not running out of is artillery rounds. Both teams, by the way. But I like their use of artillery in this match. It's not just the whole spam artillery at a random location and hope the best happens. It's much more of a, I'm going to selectively pick this area, neutralize it with cluster artillery and napalm, and then throw in a smokescreen and push. That's how I really like to see artillery used. Not so much this spray and pray, if you will, that you tend to see in 10v10s. Which, yes, it does have its place. I mean, what would a 10v10 be without artillery spamming? But still, this is a much more elegant use of artillery. And while the artillery may claim that there's only two types of targets, or two types in this world, artillery and targets, you can actually target something or randomly throw it down. Anyway, I probably made my point by now, so I'll stop beating a dead horse. Anyway, Spects pushing in from the right flank. We have Sparky pushing in from the middle, and on the left we have some support from the CV90s. Panzer Grenadiers are holding the line, so you're going to need some resupplies, and we have a Leopard 2A1, which for the moment will not be able to support this side, as it's taken quite some damage. It seems that Blue is making a dent in this town. Yes, it's going to cost them a lot of infantry, but if these guys are starting to bring in Su-122-54s for fire support, then they might start to run out of something else. They might start running out of infantry. Not that this thing can take a building, and hang on. Well, it does have HE, 4 HE. Never mind. I was thinking that these guys were just basically throwaway units, but 4 HE against infantry, that's going to leave quite an impression. So if they can keep firing at these units, then a quad stack worth 45 points or 60 points if you have an actual 4 of them could be an effective way of keeping, for example, the Royal Marines at bay at a 35 points per unit. Nice artillery strike, bit close there to Gewehrman. That's what we call danger close. They almost threw the bombs right on top of the Gewehrman. Granicos, only 7 of them left. And it seems that these transports are not exactly as confident as they once were. These seem to be like napalm tanks. 4 of them, no less. 4 napalm tanks. I wouldn't really quad stack them. Let's just put it that way. I don't see the advantage of quad stacking units like that. Anyway, at this point, it's a very much concerted effort. We have Spect on the right, we have Repnorder on the left, or middle to left. And Sparky is trying to fill in every sort of gap that he can find. Well, every sort of building block at this point. Right now there's not really any gaps left, but there are some building blocks which can still maintain infantry. Look at that. Another 4 napalm tanks. I would prefer these napalm tanks to be spread out. One there, 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 and there. And if push comes to shove, and the push does seem to be coming, you can just put up a whole firewall. You can say, I don't want you to take these structures, I don't want you to take these structures, and I want you to stay out of these structures, or this tree line. That's what you can do with 4 napalm tanks parked separately. 4 napalm tanks parked in a quad stack right next to a building, that's what we call a target. a big one. A very tempting one, and one that tends to get easily wiped out by the slightly more advanced infantry. I wouldn't quite leave it to Gewehrman 90 to do that job. The M72 Law could penetrate the armor, and with 20 rounds a minute they're going to do quite a bit of damage. But Panzer Grenadiers, no problem. Talking of problems, we have a triple T72 coming in. For now, these guys won't be too much of an issue. But any units that's trying to push up, that can be a problem. We also have some activity on the right flank. Oh. We have some more activity on the right flank than I had initially imagined. As they're pushing at least 6 T-55 Igmans forward, overrunning the Bedouins, overrunning the reconnaissance units. Keita is desperately trying to force in some more infantry at short range. But these guys are never going to make it to the tree line. Aside from that, the AA is now taking a beating here. The Stormer barely surviving that hit from the T-55. Of course, the T-55 can take significant damage, if not an insta-kill, from the Stormer missile. And now the Challengers finally have something to do. Tank targets. This is what they're here for. T-55s are not the best tanks. They're definitely numerous. And at 40 points apiece, you can throw quite a few of them at the enemy and hope for the best. And that's probably exactly what they're doing. Desperately trying to force units through whichever gap in Blue 4's lines they can find. As Blue 4 has 571 points versus the 98 for Red 4. If Red 4 wants to win this match, their best bet is to take out as many command vehicles as possible. Just to try and get that income going as fast as possible. Anyway, Blue has taken a position here. They are now... What the hell, Spect? He is taking out Su-122 54s with Gepards. This is a rather original and not at all intended use of the Flakpanzer Gepard, but it is working. And if that Gepard can suppress enemy units, for example Specialny Jednotki 90, as they're coming in, then yes please. And it's not just that that's suppressing them. A bombing run, mostly focused on their transports, wipes out 9 guys, but not the Specialny Jednotki themselves. Unfortunately, there goes the Gepard. We do, however, still have some fire support units, CV-9030s. And I believe that Rip, or at least he was hoarding a few warriors back here. I think he pushed those forward by now. 25, Panicked Volkskamjäger 90 versus, I think slightly less than 20 Specialny Jednotki at this point. Let's see, is the right flank empty? Right flank's empty. Now the question is, how far can they push? Can Blue 4 get in close enough to deal with the enemy command infantry here? Or command vehicle, I don't know if it's command infantry. I'm just assuming it is. It seems that Lieutenant Wayne has a plan to go hunting. By flying an Mi-28 right into the town. Again, I think that this was one of those units that he just sent here. Or at a time when Blue 4 had not taken the town yet. So the unit was still following its original orders, trying to get close. Unfortunately not really getting updated on the situation that Blue 4 had taken over the town. Meaning, oh there we go, it's not really a good moment to fly in there. They neutralize these, there we go, +2. Did they bring a command vehicle for that contingency? No. All the command vehicles I see on the map are holding position. But once again, Blue has already won. Definite +2 there. T-55s are once again making a push. The Challengers have been resupplied and repaired and ready for another engagement. And Keita is getting ready to give these guys a very warm welcome with a couple of Hellfire missiles. There's one hit. Almost took it out. Not quite, unfortunately. And keep in mind that these Hellfires are not fire and forgets. They're semi-active. You need to keep an eye on the target or you miss this missile. You're not going to get a good shot at it. There's another one, again missing the T-55 Dyna. This guy does not really get some accurate fire in here. Which is really what you do hope for from an Apache. Because Hellfire missiles are very expensive to resupply. But I don't think that that's going to be too much of a problem with this specific Apache. As the enemy AA seems intent on taking it down before it's ever going to have to resupply. Now that was a hell of a trick shot right there. The Apache, probably with a damaged tail rotor, firing off a missile while it was spinning the other side. Only in Wargame. What the hell, Rip? I suddenly saw a line on the map and I was like, what the hell is that? Why do we have 7 SAS dropped off here? Is he afraid of another helicopter rush? Is that it? Could be it. Anyway, Red 4 is now completely on the run and retreating from this position as another Apache pushes forward. Probably pretty clear that enemy AA is gone, but not all of it is. Some R91s are still there, and that is not the best way to land your Apache. But it does save the life of these T-55 Maddies and presumably also the T-72s that we saw retreating there. 90% of points required. I don't know if they're going to make it to 750 though. With little over a minute left of this game. I don't think we're quite going to get there. The end result though is the same. The end result, blue wins. Whether they get the points or not. Still, I really enjoyed the back and forth that we saw in this sector. We just pause for a moment here and inspect the wreckage. Let's play a game. Let's play Identify That Unit. I'm going to show it for a couple of seconds before moving on. Let's see if you can identify it. And no, I will not give anything away. Welcome to the war zone. Oh, look at the pretty lights in the sky. Some last-ditch efforts from Red 4. Oh, as a hint, in case you want to know which nationality it is, or at least which side, look at which way the vehicle's going. Yes, okay, mandatory joke. With the exception of the French, in which case you never know which way their vehicles are going. Look at that. Holy shit. These are mostly Lavadoos transports. Holy shit, he wasted a lot of infantry. And potentially not even so much wasted, that might be the wrong word choice here. But a lot of these units died off very quickly. All of these warriors parked right close. Such devastation. Welcome to Wargame. Anyway, the pretty lights in the sky are about to land right onto Foxtrot. Seems to be napalm. Does not really seem to be worrying the Pekut though. These things, with all that armor, well, you're going to need a little bit more than a bit of fire to freak these guys out. Although he is moving around for about 2 seconds, and that's when he thought, nah, I'm fine here. Moving again, holding, we're fine. 30 seconds left on the game. They are not bringing in a command unit here. What is this? What sneaky shit is this? Unless you're knowing exactly what you're going for. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, never mind. I thought that they might have eyes on this rover. Wasn't likely, because the rover was still blinking, which means concealment. But this rover might not have been. I thought that they may have eyes on here, so I was looking for a sneaky recon team, because otherwise you do not send in a MiG-27K, sorry, MiG-27K, trying to go on a wild goose chase. You send in a bomber if you really want to get a last-ditch kill on a command vehicle. But that thing, not so much. Anyway, that's the game. Spect, 5,400 points, 3,400 losses. Rip, 2,300. Sparky made positive, which I am actually surprised at, considering the huge amounts of infantry that he had to deal with, and the artillery strikes. Keita did go negative. I'm thinking that he may have been playing a little bit too aggressively with his super heavies down in the middle. Lavadu, as expected, lost a few more units than he gained in points. Mostly probably because of all that infantry that he threw at the enemy. Dijan did go positive, Lieutenant AM went positive, and Lieutenant Wayne not so much. Still, really good game, and definitely a nice highlight on how to use the artillery. The artillery, as far as I'm concerned, is not something that you just point at an area and hope for the best. It's something that you use in a concerted effort with the other forces. You fire it when you want to go somewhere, when you stun the units before you get there. And then you bring the smoke screens, and then you go in with the units. That's what these guys on Red 4 were doing, and they did it really, really well. Same for Blue 4. They kept the enemy at bay by throwing a lot of artillery back at them. Hopefully putting up enough of a wall of munitions coming down from the sky to keep these guys at bay. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, because my voice is about to go out after talking for about 55 minutes straight. So I'm going to let my voice rest for a moment and then go on to recording another video for you, which will be up soon. Hope you enjoy that one. For now, thank you for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon for more.